everybody, welcome back to the Seesaw. So this is the follow-up video to the video we made 2 weeks ago to launch our giveaway for our 1,000 subscribers. So since then we've had, I think, nearly another 200 subscribers. So again, thank you to each and every one of you that has subscribed. We got loads of questions. So if you remember, the way to enter the raffle for our giveaway was to ask us a question, any of us, all of us. And we got so many questions from you, so thank you. It was really interesting to know the sorts of things that you want to know about us. So we're going to try to answer most of them in this video today. And then at the end of the video, we will do the raffle to pick our winner for our giveaway. And we're just using an online resource for that to randomly select somebody that commented on the video. So we will get straight into the questions. Now, some people asked similar questions, so I've sort of grouped those together, but they're not in any particular order. They don't follow any particular theme. They're sort of as they came up. And I apologise now if I get anybody's name pronunciation wrong. I've tried to the best I can with what I think your name is based on your user ID for YouTube, but if it is wrong, please accept our apologies. So the first question was from a similar question from Elaine Williams and Bunny Hop. And they both asked, why did I go to the USA? So as you know, I lived in the USA for a period of time. So I went to the USA in the mid-90s. I was married before, and my first husband was American and met him here in the UK. And then we returned to the USA. And then after the marriage broke down, I decided to stay there rather than come straight home. So that was why I went to the USA. A couple of other people asked, did I go with work? So that answers that question as well. And the next question is for Caleb. So where were you born, Caleb?
I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, USA.
Phoenix, Arizona, USA. So he has dual nationality. So he has a US birth certificate, obviously, because he was born in the US and his father is American. But also we registered him for a British passport through the British Embassy as soon as he was born. So that gave him the dual nationality, meaning he can come and go. So the next question was a bit of a theme, and a lot of you asked questions around this theme. So Laura Reimer, Madison Griffiths, Rebecca J, Julie Jardine, and Julie, I think it's Sudez. Julie always comments on our videos. Did we have any holidays planned for this year? Well, we did have another Butlins break planned for the end of August, so you will have seen, some of you, our videos from last summer. We had such a good time at Butlins. We went for a week to the Skegness one, and we were due to go to Minehead this year. And when you're at Butlins, if any of you have been, while you're there, you can rebook for the next or for a future holiday and get quite a considerable discount on the cost. And so we had done that. But when this all happened, we made the decision to cancel the holiday. There is obviously now a possibility that Butlins will be back up and open, but I think it will be very restricted. Using the facilities will be quite challenging. So we have cancelled it. We will probably try to get away for a few days out, perhaps even an overnight or two. The other thing that we had done for this year was we had purchased the Merlin VIP passes for all of the Merlin attractions. So that was the other thing we were going to do this year. We were supposed to have been on holiday in Easter. We were going to the Isle of Wight for a week. We obviously didn't do that. And then we were going to have lots of weekends away doing some of the big Merlin attractions, which will now have to be put on hold until we'll perhaps be able to start picking some of those up for the Christmas season and then into next year. So our plans were disrupted. We haven't really done anything to plan a proper replacement. We think we're just sort of writing this year off. But the other question around holidays was, what would be our ideal family holiday? So Caleb, do you want to go first? If you could pick anywhere for us to go as a family on holiday, where would you want to go?
Back to Disneyland.
Disneyland?
Yeah.
To the Paris one?
Yeah.
Yeah? You liked that, didn't you? Well, we went in at Christmas, so it was really, really cold. I don't think I've ever been as cold as we were when we were there. It was bitterly cold. But it was great fun, and Caleb would like to go back. Daddy, what would be your ideal family holiday?
Oh, jeez. It'd be a Disneyland, but it wouldn't be Paris.
one of the US ones.
Disneyland, California.
Yeah, California rather than the big Florida, which I think is just a little bit too big. I know a lot of you YouTubers have been and done videos from Florida vacations, but I think you need at least 2 weeks to get a proper experience in Florida, whereas California's a little bit better contained. And for me, I think it would probably be a cruise. That's something we have been talking about doing in the near future, a family cruise. I just like the idea of visiting several different places on one holiday and still getting all of your meals and entertainment and everything included. So I think that would be my choice. Kerry Andrews wanted to know, what do I do for a job? So I have spent most of my career working in human resources. It wasn't really a plan. I sort of toyed with the idea of being a teacher, with being a lawyer. After I finished university, I decided to go out and start working, and just kind of stumbled into a job in human resources, or personnel as it was called in those days. I then took a short break from that. I actually worked for the BBC in radio for a number of years, doing on-air work, producing work, kind of behind the scenes stuff, remote broadcast, that sort of thing. I really enjoyed that, but then it was while I was doing that job that I then moved to the States. And in the States, I continued to do quite a bit of radio work, having a British voice. When I first went to the States, we'll get to that in a minute, but I lived in rural Oklahoma. And so having a British voice on the radio in rural Oklahoma was quite a novelty. So I did do a bit of radio work, but I dropped back into an HR job, and I've really stayed in HR since then. So I am now a human resources director for a local manufacturing company. We have about 500 staff, and that's kind of the size of business I enjoy working for the most, where you get to know all the staff, but you still can do some bigger projects and that sort of thing. Obviously, in that line of work, it's been quite a challenging year this year. Thea Millgate wanted to know, Tony, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't have children.
That's the best piece of advice.
I ignored it. I completely ignored it. Best piece of advice?
Must be from your sporting days, surely.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
You just don't give up.
And I think that ties in because Thea also wanted to know what's the worst piece of advice, and I'll take that one, because when I was in the States, I'd been over there a couple of years, and I got divorced, and everybody told me, why don't you just go home, go back to the UK, you've got your family, you don't have anybody here. And, you know, from friends to family here to all kinds of people were telling me that's what I should do. But I didn't want to rush into making a decision, because I knew if I came back home at that time, then I would never go back again. And opportunity at that time was quite good for me in the States. And so if there was a possibility to stay, I wanted to explore that first. And obviously, if I hadn't stayed, I wouldn't have this one or this one in my life. So that was definitely the worst piece of advice I ever received. And it kind of goes into that, don't make rash decisions, and, you know, weigh up everything before you make decisions. Salster wanted to know from Tony, what do you miss most and least about the USA?
I'll start with least. The problems they're having right now.
Yes.
I don't miss that at all. The thing I miss the most is not being able to go to any store at any time of the day or night. Because I'm used to 24 hours. Stores are open 24 hours.
Yeah, so that does take a bit of getting used to. So obviously we have one 24-hour store locally. There's not 24 hours at the moment because of the shutdowns, but that's it. And a lot of things around here still not open on a Sunday and stuff like that, which was quite unusual. Vanessa Banfield and FCM both had questions about our meals and our recipes. Vanessa wanted to know, do I personally make up our recipes? And FCM said, where do I get my ideas from? I am planning to do a video about how I meal plan. A couple of people have asked us that before. And it really is a combination. So I get inspiration. So I use a lot of time, viewing Pinterest. I have recipe magazines. I have lots of cookbooks. I think my bookshelf has mostly cookbooks on it, and I'm an avid reader as well. So, but things, good old-fashioned cookbooks, like I've still got the B-Row cookbook, I've got the Dairy Book of Home Cooking, which was our cookery textbook when I was in school. It's what we made a lot of things from. I've got a lot of the Jamie Oliver from the US time. I've got a lot of Rachel Ray stuff. So it's those how to make good meals fast are kind of the things that I enjoy. But I don't very often follow a recipe word for word, ingredient by ingredient. I kind of take the idea and tweak it to what we like as a family. So I do have favourite cooks that I'm inspired by. I like Nigella's stuff, and certainly Jamie and Rachel Ray. But I do tend to then take their ideas and make it into something that will work for the three of us. So I make up a lot of the recipes, but using an idea from something I might have seen somewhere else. But I will do a separate video about how I meal plan, because that I think I'm probably, but I think I'm quite unique in how I do it, but actually I may not be. Maybe a lot of people that do it the same way that I do. But I think Toney has said a few times he doesn't think he's had the same meal twice in the, 11 years, 12 years we've been together.
No,
so
planned,
apart from like roast dinners and things like that, the stables. So yeah, that's that one. And then WW Sarah Louise, one of our weight loss channels that follows us, wanted to know one thing I'd learned from our YouTube journey. I think for me it's about ignoring the negatives. I mean, we don't get a lot of negative comments, thankfully, on our videos. We get some thumbs down. There's always going to be that. There are people that just spend their time looking at people's videos to give it a thumbs down, and I don't think they even probably view the whole video. But you know what, that's still interaction. It's still, you know, it still counts as engagement in the way that YouTube look at the performance of your channel. And I just don't think you can worry too much about what other people think. And I think that I probably had that view of life and the world anyway, but I think YouTube has really kind of made that come to light. And also, I mean, it's taught me that people are interested in just everyday stuff. I think somebody made the comment, I think it might have been Bunny Hop and Mrs. Watts for Tea, that talked about being nosy, and that's why they like this sort of video. And I think all of us are just a little bit nosy. That's why we enjoy watching what everybody else is doing, buying, eating, those sorts of things. It is mundane, it is everyday, but if it can give somebody just an idea for something new to try in their family, or a new place to visit, then I think we've done what we set out to do. And it was never to kind of change the world with our YouTube channel, but just to kind of share the challenges of everyday life when you've got two working parents and trying to keep up with a child, with school, with sports, and meals on the table and all that sort of thing. So Peaches had a question for each of us, and it also tied into a question that Rosemary, I think it's Michelle or it might be Michael, asked us. So Peaches wanted to know, where did I live in the USA and did I like it? So I spent my first 2 years in Oklahoma, in quite a rural area. And then I got an opportunity with the company I worked for to move over to Arizona, to Phoenix, which is the 5th largest city in the US. So it's a completely different way of life and culture. And I spent the rest of my time there living in the kind of general Phoenix area. I did enjoy it. I absolutely enjoyed my time over there. There's highs and lows, there's pros and cons. When you don't have any family around, your friends sort of become your family, because speaking to somebody on the phone is not the same as sitting down face to face with somebody if you're having a tough time. So your friends do start to take the place of your family a little bit. But I did thoroughly enjoy my time spent over there. A question for Toney is, what kind of work do you do?
Actually, I don't even know how to describe that one.
Toney does work for the same company that I do, by the way.
Company.
So we're at the same company.
Well, actually, I guess I would be managing the furnishings that go into the product that we build.
Yeah, so he has an area of the supply chain that he's kind of responsible for. Not the actual purchasing part, but then the coordination of all of that once it's been purchased, and how it then gets distributed through the production chain. And then Caleb, Peach's question for you was, what are your hobbies?
My hobbies are sports and Sports, and even more sports.
Sports and more sports. What else do you do? When you're not playing sports, what do you do?
Schoolwork,
That's not a hobby,
hobby.
though. What do you do upstairs in the
Yo.
playroom?
play games.
Play video games, yes. So he is a typical 10 to 11-year-old, and that he does love his video games. He's got an Xbox, and he enjoys playing video games. He also enjoys watching other YouTubers, I have to say. It was his interest in YouTube that first caught my interest in family kind of YouTube channels. Roseanne, and I don't know if I've written this down right, Sobiet and Diane Keep both wanted to know where and how did Toney and I meet. So we met on a blind date. So we didn't know each other ahead of time. We met on a blind date, but I'll let Toney tell you where we went for our blind date.
Where did we go? Oh, yes. Our blind date was breakfast.
Yes. We went to, those in the States will know, IHOP, the International House of Pancakes. And when he suggested that we meet for breakfast, I did think that was a little odd. But his view of that was the whole point. It was different, and I would remember it as a date because it was breakfast.
That's because everybody, their dates are either lunch or dinner.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we met for breakfast. We spent hours kind of chatting and talking. We hit it off almost instantly. And the rest is history, as they say. Caleb, Teresa M., one of our long-time viewers, wants to know, do we prepare Licky's meals ahead of time, and what does he eat?
So we sometimes prepare his meals ahead of time, and sometimes even give him his meals early. But he eats kale, mint, parsley, pepper, baby corn, blueberries, sometimes strawberries, sometimes dandelions as a snack.
Cucumbers?
Cucumbers.
Peppers?
I already said that.
Oh,
Just like peppers.
carrots?
Yeah, carrots. I think that's everything.
And then what else does he have in his cage?
Lettuce,
And then what else does he have?
coriander,
No.
hay.
Hay
Lots of hay.
and kibble, little kibble chunks as well. So guinea pigs are supposed to have 85% of their diet from hay. So we get the feeding hay. You can do Timothy hay or orchard or meadow hay, and he likes the meadow hay better. And then kibble, they have some of that every day because it has the vitamins and things they need in, and then they need a bit of fresh food every day. So the reason he's not in the video with us tonight is that he is currently eating his tea.
He's
He
eating
gets
his hay, actually.
two portions of fresh food a day, one in the morning and one in the evening. Just a little kind of bowl of fresh food. But he's very particular. Things that guinea pigs are supposed to like, not him. He doesn't like. So we have to try them a few times and then give up and then perhaps try it again. And even things he really enjoys, he sometimes goes off them and stops eating. So we have to pick and choose a bit what we give him. But that's what he has.
Yeah, he's the picky eater in the house.
He is the picky eater in the house, yeah.
Next to me.
Yeah, you come close at times, although you're not too bad really for a child. Helen Kent wanted to know what made me go into vlogging. It was really quite random. I just got into a habit of, I was watching a number of other channels that did similar videos to the ones we do, with grocery hauls, meals of the week, just days in the life, family days out, that sort of thing. And I just remember, I think I said to Toney one day, oh, I should do that. And he said, well, why don't you? And I put my first tentative grocery haul where the camera was pointing the wrong way, and it was vertical, so I had the black strips down the side, and I was still trying to figure out what on earth I was doing. And I had a couple of people subscribed, and I was like, oh well. And the view was, if you like watching other people's, then maybe they would like to watch yours. So that was really the only reason we started. It wasn't, as I said, we're not planning to change the world. We're not planning to change our lives by having millions of subscribers. We just are doing something that we enjoy, and it's also sort of documenting our journey a little bit as a family, which is always a good thing. Imperfect Vegan, another regular visitor to our channel, wanted to know from Tony, have you had other pets as a child or an adult?
Yes, I have. Mostly dogs, a few cats, 2 rats. And this one.
Now a guinea pig. Yeah. I think both of us have always had pets in our lives in some way, shape or form. I've had dogs and cats. We had both in the States. I also had goats in the States. I had 2 cows at one point that I adopted as calves and kept them until they got too big to handle. So pets have always been a part of our life. We haven't had a dog since we've been back in the UK. We have toyed with the idea a few times, but when we first came back and both looking to get back out to work and full time and with a child, Caleb was just 18 months old when we came back, we just felt that wasn't the time, and we have talked about it again a bit more recently, so maybe that will be on the horizon for us at some point soon. So, the lovely Cheryl at the What's for Tea channel, one of our favourite channels, wanted to know from Tony, did you come straight from the USA to the UK? So was that just a one move? And did you find it hard adjusting?
It really wasn't that hard of an adjustment, other than the fact that stores are closed. That's the only thing that I had to get to grips with.
Yeah, and we did just do the one. We came straight from the USA back to the UK, so that we didn't go anywhere else first. But Tony has lived in a couple of other places as well.
So,
Mania 1961 wanted to know, do we have family close by? Yes, so my mum lives in the nearest town to us, or the nearest city to us here. My brother lives a couple of villages away. My sister lives about an hour and a half's drive away. And then I've got quite a lot of cousins, and both my mum and my dad were in big families, so I had a lot of cousins that were around a lot growing up. Unfortunately, my mum's 85 now. My dad passed away in his 50s, but unfortunately, gradually the aunts and uncles have passed away, and we only have one auntie left now out of all of the aunts and uncles I had growing up. And so it is a different sort of family. As each generation comes, people get caught up in their own lives and there's less time to spend time together. But yes, I do have family in this general area. And that was part of the reason for moving back to this part of the UK. Hayley likes Baileys, so do I, Hayley. Wants to know from Caleb, what's your favourite subject at school and why?
My favourite subject at school would be science and maths.
Why do you like those?
Because science is just fun. And math I like.
Maths you're good at, aren't you? It's your best subject.
I like.
And you like it too. Yeah. Maths was always my subject at school as well, so that's quite a good one. And then Jess B asked the opposite. What's your least favourite subject at school?
Awkward silence.
Awkward silence. You don't have anything you really don't like, do you?
But the one I would skip would be English.
English, yeah. He does do some lovely pieces of writing. We've seen that while he's been homeschooling during this lockdown period. But that is his least favourite thing to do. Jaxie Ann wanted to know from Tony, what did you think when Karen decided to have a YouTube channel?
Thanks for taking my advice.
Yeah, he'd been saying for a while, you should do it. And as with most things, I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe. And then I did. So
I thought it was a great idea.
You did. And then she also wanted to know, did we tell friends and family? And I think that's quite interesting. I haven't deliberately gone out and told people that we have a channel, but I haven't not told people, like deliberately not told them. So we do have a few friends and family that we know view the channel regularly. In particular, Caleb's best friend's family, who is also his childminder. So Helen, William and Heidi, we know that they regularly view our channel. So that's... but it wasn't that we deliberately went out and said, we've got a YouTube channel. I think Caleb has told people at school that we have one. So some of his classmates at school, their families have viewed.
Almost everyone has watched my channel in school.
Have they?
In my class.
Okay. So, but yeah, it's not like we've gone out and said to people, oh, we've got a YouTube channel, come and see us. But we haven't hidden it either. If somebody asked us, we'd be quite open about the fact that we have it. Marcy Goubeau wanted to know from all of us, what's the hardest thing to deal with during the pandemic and the lockdown that we've been under? So what's been the most challenging thing, Caleb?
The most challenging thing about lockdown is not getting close to people.
Not being close to people, yeah.
And not getting outside as much as we would usually.
So that is definitely, for me, I think the hardest thing would be the same. It's just that freedom. It's that just having your freedom somewhat taken away from you, but knowing that that's the right thing to do and that's what you should be doing. I think one of the things we've said right from the beginning, that we actually don't mind spending time together as a family. We haven't fallen out and we haven't gotten on each other's nerves because we've been in the house together. And I could imagine if it was a family that was strained, that could be quite difficult. But that's actually been quite nice for us because it's something we just never get to do with our normal schedules and then sports at the weekend. We just don't have time where we're just all in the house together. So that has actually been quite nice for us rather than being difficult. Toney, is there anything you would say?
Obvious, not going to the gym.
Yeah, not being able to go to the gym.
Work out.
No working out. And what have we missed doing most as a family? For me, it would be that sporting routine, I think, because we had Saturday football, Sunday rugby. That's our kind of autumn, winter into spring routine, and that's something we always do as a family rather than, just each having our own things going on. So I think for me it would be the sports. Anything that you've missed doing as a family? Perhaps going out to eat?
The weekend.
Yeah.
The days out.
Going to the movies, that sort of thing would be the toughest thing. Anything else from you, Kayla?
Holidays.
Going on holiday, yes, of course.
And meals out.
Yeah. The lovely Kate over at the Kitchen Spy, she wanted to know, Caleb, what is your favourite meal? She said some very lovely things about having a mummy that cooks lots of fabulous food. And therefore, what is your favourite meal?
It's not something that she cooks, but
Yeah, of course.
my favourite thing that she cooks is chicken sandwiches.
Chicken sandwiches, okay.
And my favourite thing to eat is sushi.
That's a new favourite for Caleb. We've been exploring with sushi a bit and he really likes it. And that's not something we have to battle with Toney for because he's got no interest in eating sushi at all. And then Kate also wanted to know, Caleb, what is your favourite sport?
Rugby.
Rugby. Why is that your favourite?
Well, I play it.
Because you play it.
And also, I'm kind of interested in football.
Mm-hmm.
American football.
And American football, he's started to be a bit interested in that. He's got the NFL video game that he plays sometimes, but we had said that we would try to take him to one of the NFL games in London, but again, I don't know what's happening with that for this next season now. So as he gets a bit older and a bit more able to cope with those sorts of trips out, I'm sure we will get to one. Scott Rogue. Scott is another regular contributor to the channel. Wanted to know from Toney, what's the food that you miss the most from the States that you can't get here?
Hot wings.
Chicken wings.
Real hot wings. From Native New Yorker.
Native New Yorker chicken wings. So the difference in the States is they typically fry the wings, whereas here they tend to be baked, and it does make a huge difference. We often, when we were dating, used to meet for lunch and just go to the Native New Yorker and have a big old plate of wings. So I get that. For me, it would be more sort of ingredient things, and I've mentioned these a few times on the videos that we've made, but things for me like minute rice. I don't understand why we don't have minute rice here. It turns out perfect every time. It takes 2 minutes to make a big pan of rice, and you don't have to worry about it. It just does itself. So some of those shortcut ingredients, although I didn't use it very often, things like Velveeta cheese to make a nice topping for nachos and stuff like that, or a chili cheese dip.
Oh, yeah.
Velveeta cheese, that would be something I would miss. But it's sort of more of the ingredient sort of things than pre-prepared food, because even over there, even before I met Toney, when I was still single, I still made most of my own food. So it's more about ingredients for me than it is about, and I would say actually for Mexican food, the kind of pre-prepared enchilada sauces and taco sauce and stuff like that, which is quite hard to find here. And if you do find it, it's completely different flavor profile. Like the taco seasoning is like, I don't know, smoky paprika or something, which is not what taco seasoning is at all. So I think it's just those sorts of things that I miss. Caleb, you didn't really get used to any American foods, did you?
The only thing we got used to was the cats and the dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And baby food. So he doesn't really miss anything food-wise that he remembers eating there. Another question from Susan Morris, who I think I got this right, Susan. I think you are a Brit living in the US, married to an American. So, completely get our family makeup here. But she said typically you expect American men to enjoy beef and eat big barbecued steaks and things like that. So she wanted to know, why doesn't Toney eat beef?
Because when I was in school, I worked in a restaurant and meals were included. So I ate a lot of beef. Actually, it was a Mexican restaurant. So I just kind of overdosed on it and one day decided I wanted to have something different, and I just never ate beef again.
And he just hasn't since. So,
and I loved steak. I loved roast beef. I loved McDonald's Big Macs, but it just kind of burnt out on him.
Yeah, and he doesn't really miss it. And I've learned over the years that we've been together to just work around it. So Caleb and I do sometimes have beef. We quite like steak, don't we? And beef. But then I'll just make something similar but using pork or chicken for Toney. And then Jessica Love wanted to know from Toney, what part of the USA are you from?
Interestingly enough, I'm from Oklahoma, where she was. And I believe at one point we were probably in the state at the same time before we met.
Very, very strange. So the rural part of Oklahoma that I lived in, Toney kind of grew up and was born actually in the next town across from there. His grandparents lived between those two towns in a small village, and I lived in that village for a while as well. So it is one of those spooky things that once we started getting to know each other, it was like, oh my gosh, you know where that is? Nobody's ever heard of it. Well, yeah, I was born near there and I grew up near there. So that is quite funny. But he had moved to Arizona before I did, and I only lived in Oklahoma and Arizona. Carol Scammell wanted to know from all of us, what do we do in our spare time and what do we enjoy doing as a family? I think we've answered about the family, because I think it's the sports really that we do together and the kind of days out and having a meal out, going to the movies, the sorts of things that you just enjoy when you're all busy during the week. Caleb, you've already spoken about your hobbies. Toney?
Mountain biking and photography.
Yeah, he really enjoys like nature photography. He's done some really great pictures of animals, either when we've been to wildlife parks or zoos or just out and about. So he really enjoys that, and his bike has been his gym really while we've been in lockdown. So he has been enjoying long bike rides. For me, I love to read. I enjoy craft type of things. I obviously enjoy cooking. So it's all the sort of homey stuff for me that I enjoy more than anything. I think if I was to say something outside of the home, I really love musicals. I used to belong to an amateur musical society before I went to the States. And so that was a big part of my life, and I really do enjoy going to the theatre and live theatre and that sort of thing. Patricia De Freitas wanted to know how long did I live in the USA. So I was there for just about 15 years. I went in 1995 and we came back at the end of 2010. So I was there for 15 years. Peter Griffiths wanted to know, did I choose to go to the USA or was it with the job, and was it our choice to return? So I've answered why I went there in the first place. And I think when we talk about coming back, it was after we had Caleb. And then that kind of family feel, that, you know, the pull to be closer to family.
She got homesick.
I did get a bit homesick, but I didn't really make a thing about it. It was actually Toney that said, look, why don't we, a bit like with YouTube, I thought about it, but it was actually him that said, why don't we think about the move? And surprisingly, from the day we had that discussion to getting back here was about 3 months. It was very quick, and in that time we got married, we got the visas all sorted out, I secured a job back here, we found somewhere to live temporarily, we got our furniture all packed up, and we moved back just before Christmas in 2010.
Actually, it was the week before my birthday.
It was, yeah, it was happy birthday. And we got back here and there was 6 foot of snow everywhere, and Toney looked at me like, I thought you said there were, like, it wasn't that bad here in the winter, and like, this is like really freak. And I don't think we've had proper snow perhaps once since then, so I was being right about that. Yaz wanted to know from all of us, what are our favourite films and TV shows? So Caleb, what's your favourite films?
Do you even watch movies? I know you watch a lot of TV shows.
When he was young, his absolute favourite were the Disney Cars movies. We watched them almost on rotation, constantly. I think he knew every line in the movies when he was really small.
Oh yeah, I still like that movie.
Yeah.
I like Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, some of the superhero movies.
Oh, and I like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, you went to see that with Helen, didn't you?
Yeah.
What about TV shows?
Mr. Magoo, Wish Fart.
Wish Fart, which is the weirdest name of a TV show ever.
No.
Mr. Bean, you like, don't you?
Yes.
Toney, what about you? Films and TV?
Films and TV, because I like a lot of films.
He's a movie buff.
I've got hundreds of them. For a favorite? I don't know. Probably Born.
The Bourne
Identity.
trilogy?
All of them.
All of them.
TV shows.
You don't watch a lot of proper TV, do you?
No.
So for me, I don't watch many films. I'm the opposite. I don't watch a lot of films. I used to, but I don't. My favourite sorts of films are kind of the psych thriller sort of thing. So not horror movies. I used to watch those when I was younger, but I'm not into those now. But the ones that really kind of keep you on the edge of your seat. So things like Silence of the Lambs, that sort of movie. I also like things like Shawshank Redemption, which has got a good storyline to it. It has to have a good storyline to kind of capture me. TV shows are a real mixed bag there. So soap opera, I'm an EastEnders girl. I tried to keep up with what happened with EastEnders on my 15 years away, but I think it was because it started when I was at the age where I was watching soap operas. So I've known the families and the storylines from the very beginning, but never got into Coronation Street, Emmerdale, or any of the others, Hollyoaks. I used to enjoy Neighbours and Home in a way back in the days, but it's EastEnders is my soap opera. Caleb, stop doing that, please. You're stretching your shirt. I do like some of the reality stuff, so I like the things like Bake Off, MasterChef, as you would expect, Best Home Cook, that sort of thing. I do watch things like The Voice and Britain's Got Talent and that sort of thing, but I don't care if I miss it, so I do enjoy watching it, but if I miss a few episodes, it's not the end of the world. And then I do enjoy good drama series, so things like Silent Witness, that sort of thing, crime, police, procedural sort of dramas. And then I really enjoy true crime stuff, so I've become a bit obsessed with that. I will stay up very late at night watching, how serial killers are caught and things like that. It's something CBS reality, yeah. It's something I've always been fascinated in, is the psyche around criminals. So those sorts of real crime shows do interest me. Verna Douglas wanted to know from all of us, where would you like to live and why, apart from obviously the UK where we live now and the US where we have lived. So Caleb, where would you like to live? anywhere other than here? Canada?
Or Spain?
Spain. It's nice and sunny in
Or
Spain.
Paris?
Paris, ooh. Okay, big city.
Wow.
Just so you're near Disneyland, is that where you're going to live there? Okay, Tony?
New Zealand.
Yeah. I think Werner is from New Zealand, and I think we both said New Zealand rather than Australia, because I think New Zealand is a bit quieter. I think it suits us a bit. We like rural, we like wide open spaces, and I think for me, New Zealand or Canada would probably be the two options. Tony has lived in Canada,
yes.
so he's already knocked that one off of his list. But I've spent quite a bit of time. I spent just over 6 months in Canada at one point, so I do enjoy Canada, but that would possibly be an alternative for me. The Divaja, we're on to the last couple of questions now. The Divaja wanted to know, what is my favourite meal to prepare? And I would struggle to pick a favourite. It would depend on the situation. Like a good old-fashioned roast dinner, I don't think you can beat it. It's quick and easy to prepare. But I do enjoy that challenge of preparing something really tasty in kind of half an hour after getting home from work. So pasta dishes. We all enjoy Mexican food, so kind of Mexican-style food. So I don't really have a favourite meal. I think if I was going to do something like Come Dine With Me and I was asked to put a meal together, I would struggle. I would want to know more about the people coming as to what I would put together. But I don't think you can beat a roast dinner. And then finally, Teresa Myers asked us, how did I come up with the Family Seesaw as the name for our channel? So when I originally started a couple of years ago a blog, and I was going to do that because I quite enjoy writing, but I found it quite time consuming to actually sit and write, and I haven't updated the blog for a very long time. But I called that the Family Seesaw, and when I was trying to come up with a name, I was thinking of all sorts of things that had our name in it, that didn't, and and I was thinking what I was trying to depict was that balance between working life, family life, so being a parent, being a wife, having a job and a career, having my own interests, and that was a very fine balance, and you need to keep all of those things in perfect balance for it to work. And that sort of put the seesaw idea in my head, and I just felt like, any family that has multiple things going on, it is like being on a seesaw. Sometimes one thing takes priority and that side gets weighted down, and then you get it back into balance again, and then something else tilts it off in the opposite direction. So that was where we came up with the idea. It was that finding that balance as a family, to make sure we have time together, but we also each have our own individual things going on. So that was where that idea came from. So that was, I think, most of the questions that were asked. It was quite fun thinking about our responses to those, and we hope that's given you a bit more insight into who we are as a family. So we will now just flip over to show you the drawing for the giveaway. So it was anybody that commented with a question on the announcement video for our 1K giveaway. We used a randomizer to do that. So let me just show you that drawing now. So we're all ready to pick our winner. We're using this website, commentpicker.com, which is one that I've seen other YouTubers use for this purpose. And all you do is you put the URL for the video that you want to pick a commenter from. And you then just randomly, it looks at all the comments on that video. You can also, if you've asked people to say a certain word, you can put in the word that it's looking for, and then it will only pick comments that have that word in it. But we have just said anybody that asked us a question in the comments. So let's start it rolling. And there go all the names. Okay, and our winner is Diane Keep. And she was one of the people that asked the question about where did Tony and I meet. There you go. A very big congratulations to Diane Keep, who is our winner. Diane, if you want to send us an email, it's thefamilyseesaw@gmail.com. I will drop that in the comment section down below. If you could just give us obviously an address to send your gift to, and I'd really love to know just a little bit about you. So Diane, are you a family person? Are you single? Do you have children? Do you have grandchildren? pets, you know, what's a bit about you, so that we can tailor the box to be some things that we think you would like. As we said, the winner will receive, Diane, you will receive one of the meal planners that we use for our weekly meal plan, but we want to put some other things in there that are perhaps a little bit more personalised to you. So we'd love to know, you know, where you live, where are you, and kind of what's your personal situation, so that we can tailor a little gift package to send out to you, and we'll get that sent out to you hopefully in the next few days. So thank you all again for your questions. This has been a lot of fun. I've got some ideas for some new things on the channel in the coming weeks. I'm going to start to do a monthly favourites video, so some of my favourite things from the month before, and I'm going to do one for June. As I mentioned, I'm going to try and do a meal planning video for you to show how I do that. I also, as I mentioned before, I'm going to do about a kind of freezer batch cooking type of video to how can you stock your freezer with some good meals. A couple of you commented that you'd like to see that. So I've got some ideas for some new things for the channel, but we'll continue to provide you the same content with meals of the week, with our grocery hauls and other sorts of hauls, and with our little glimpses of our family life. But for now, we all want to say thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.